Hey everybody, welcome to the Witches Movie Coven. Grab your goat, and this week especially, grab yourself a bloodbath perhaps. Why? Because we are talking about Renfield. If you're going, who are you? I'll tell you who we are. We are the Witches Movie Coven. We are witches talking about witches in movie. I am Patti Negri. You might recognize me from Ghost Adventures or from my regular The Witching Hour podcast or from this. And let me introduce my co-hosts. We have the beautiful Courtney Buckley above here. She is goat bait herself.
Or from my regular podcast or from this.
Wait,
and let
something's
me
talking.
My co-hosts.
That's a good entrance. I thought I would do chat for the okay. That's haunted. Okay, Courtney Buckley, ghost bait herself from Scared and Alone. Right next to her, Richard-Lael Lillard, a beautiful person and dear friend who we just saw. We have Jason Mankey, witch author of 100,000 books, and I'm not exaggerating. And in place of Heather this week, we have the one and only, my best friend, my Fangs Smith, Father Sebastian. It is a vampire movie after all. He is Father Sebastian of the Sabretooth clan, internationally known impresario and vampire. And I must say, I'm really excited because Richard-Lael, Sebastian, and I just spent a week or more in New Orleans, where Richard-Lael just moved. And Sebastian and I were at Hex Fest. And it's really warm there, but it was really fabulous. Hey, Matthew. Good to see you. Hi, Matthew.
Oh, Matthew.
Yes. Anyway, so this week we are going just slightly outside the witchy world. We are talking about Renfield. Yes, with Nicolas Cage and all sorts of wonderful people. We do not have Heather to explain it this week. Do we want to talk about what we've been doing following you around in New Orleans, or do we want to get right into the movie?
I will say that I want to hear about New Orleans. That's just my personal greed.
It was Lilith Dorsey, who we just had on last week. She was there. We got to hang with her all week. Amazing, amazing presentations, amazing rituals, dancing, drumming, paddle boat, river boat, private parties at like Christian Day's house and all these. Every house looked like a Richard-Lael house that we went into. Beautiful antiques and skulls and spooky and beautiful everywhere we went. And we got to see Richard-Lael a lot. And even then, after Hexfest, I was filming with the Ghost Finders, and not even on purpose. We had this last minute trip there. We go there and we're getting out of the van. I hadn't got out yet, and all of a sudden the cast starts oohing and awing. Look at this car. What kind of a car is this? Look at this car. I look out and I'm like, it's Mr. Satan, Richard-Lael. We parked directly, of all the cars in New Orleans, we parked next to Mr. Satan. So we, of course, had to go find him. So it was a magical week all the way around. What do you think, Sebastian? This was your first Hex Fest as well.
Well, it was my first Hex Fest being your guest. And what the great thing is I didn't have to work. So I got to play, and I got to see all my friends in New Orleans. And I got to really enjoy the hospitality of Christian Day and Brian Kane. Yeah. And they were great. And I got to see Richard-Lael, which I love seeing him all the time because he always is driving his car around and scaring the muggles. And then time.
Completely. Yeah, and we got to hang out like at the Vampire Cafe, at Potions, Apothecary, all these very, very vampire-y things, which is perfect for today's movie. So
we got to hang out with like the cream of the crop of the witchcraft scene.
Yeah. Well, some of them. I was at a different festival that weekend.
You were the only one missing, you and Heather. Everybody else on the whole planet was there.
What about me?
You were busy. You were doing something far more fun, Courtney.
I was very busy. Can I share?
Yes.
So I was mysteriously, I don't know why my camera is not focused. Hold on one second. Find me. Anyway, I was very busy on a mysterious, I was mysteriously away from the Coven last week. And that's because I took my once-in-a-lifetime dream trip to Universal and Disney. And as predicted, we went to Universal first. And I walked around the corner and I saw the Jurassic Park Welcome Center and Hogwarts, and I was uncontrollably sobbing for 20 minutes. They were taking pictures of me, and it was just as embarrassing as I thought it would be. And then I was crying the whole time. And then I was sad to leave Universal. I thought I want to stay there and not go to Disney. And in the car on the way there, as we passed under the Walt Disney World sign, I started violently sobbing again, to the point where our driver videoed me, because he said in 15 years he's never seen a person behave like that. I could not be controlled. And then he rolled down the window when we got to our resort to like check in with the security guard, and he was like, yeah, look at her, she's crying. And so the security guard was like, welcome, Your Majesty. And I was like, I'm a princess. And yeah, I cried a lot. But it was so magical. We did all kinds of fun Halloween things. I got a new wand. I did some magic, and it was almost like I knew what movie we were going to do this week, because while in the Wizarding World, I picked up one of these so that I could enjoy it tonight on the show while we talk about Renfield. So it was amazing. And I posted one picture on my Facebook, but there are more pictures to come once I recover a little bit.
Was it everything you were hoping it was? The whole
It was
because you
more.
expected a lot. Okay.
Yeah, it was way more than I ever expected it would be. It was just really, really magical. The cast members were all really nice at Disney, and the team members at Universal. Excuse me. And they really, there was a lot of things that like pixie dust moments that like really just made our trip. And everyone was so wonderful, and I cried a lot, and it was great. And I already put down.
What was your favorite moment? What was your favorite thing?
Trying to pull the sword out of the stone for you.
Oh.
Yelling, Jason, your favorite movie.
Never done King Arthur right. Never.
There was actually, so my absolute favorite moment was my son. Sometimes, like when he tries to smile for pictures, he makes weird faces. He doesn't always. He used to smile beautifully, and then he thought about it too much, and now he like does this, and it's, you know, we had to talk about it before we left, that like the most important thing to me on this trip was to have just one picture of us with normal smiles in front of the castle or something like that. So we had to practice smiling for pictures, and then there was this photo stop that, before I even knew I was going to Disney, I would cry looking at the pictures because it was so beautiful. And it was by the Tangled area. So all the lanterns were up, and Tangled's my favorite movie. So they have you hold one of the Tangled lanterns, and like it's all glowy on your face, and they have you like smile at the camera or whatever. And I was like obsessed with these before I ever knew I was going to Disney. And everyone told me, don't get your hopes up. The lines are always so long and whatever. We got there, we found it, and there was only 6 people in line. So we got up to the front, or we were in line, and I was crying because I was like, I can't believe this is about to happen. And my son looked at me without me saying anything, and he said, I promise that I will smile my best smile for these pictures because I know how important it is for you. Aww. And then, yeah, we got up to the front, and there was now like 100 people in line behind us, and there was me, my son, and my friend. And I said, because they do like a whole little photo shoot, like the same poses for each, you know, for whatever. I said, is there any way, like I explained how special they were to me, and I said, is there any way we can have just one of me and my son and then do the rest for the 3 of us? And when I explained how I felt about them and I was crying, the cast members started crying. So she did the whole photo shoot with me and Nathan. She did the whole photo shoot with me and my Nathan and my friend. And then she pushed them both out of the shot and let me do the whole photo shoot by myself with like 100 people in line. And I was sobbing, and they're like the most beautiful pictures, and I will treasure them forever. And I'm just so happy. I did have a great time, Robert. Thank you. It was a wonderful time.
Wow. That's fabulous.
You're a Disney junkie.
What?
You're a Disney junkie.
I am now. I've been back for 36 hours, and I put my deposit down for next year. So it's really a problem.
It's okay. Almost everybody I know.
Look, Jason, just for you.
I'm thankful that you did that for me, and horrified all at the same time.
Did you get the sword out?
No. But I did yell, Jason, as I was pulling up.
That's funny.
Everyone in my party knew that was the one picture we had to get it for Jason.
People have yelled my name for much worse things. So actually, that's probably one of the better ones.
Good. Well, let's save our And brand new fangs. Thank you, Sebastian. Brand new fangs. They're a little longer than my old ones. So if I sound a little lispy, that's a trick of the trade just for a little while. Hi, everybody. Hi, Brandy. So let's talk Renfield. Now, we do not have Heather here to give us her whole lowdown. It is a 2023 movie. Richard-Lael, do you want to do your little intro that you so often and fabulously explain the entire movie?
I would be delighted.
Okay.
So this is a spoiler alert for those who have not seen the film. This is not a 20-year-old film. This is like a 2-month-old film. So if you haven't seen it, you are out of luck. You're going to get some spoilers. If you would like to skip away, you can do that, but then you're going to miss out on all of this fabulous content, so you don't want to do that. Deal with the spoilers. That's what I So the story of Renfield, it is a brilliant retelling of the classic story of Dracula. But of course, it is more from the 1931 version and then sort of the continuation. And you find Dracula and Renfield not in Europe, not in England, but instead in the New World, in New Orleans. And of course, Renfield is going out trying to find people to feed his master, but he can't really come to it anymore. He can't make himself bring people to his master anymore. So he's bringing them rats and dead people and things that are just not really up to a vampire's standards. But it turns out that Renfield has actually gone to, he saw a mark, he saw someone that he was going to murder, and then he followed him into a self-help group. And it turns out that in this self-help group, they're all dealing with people who are narcissists. And so in this, he actually finds true friendship and true power. And of course, Dracula, being the narcissist, is not happy. But in the interim, Renfield actually is. He's very happy, and he ends up in a very colorful New Orleans apartment. And of course, Dracula is in an abandoned hospital. But it turns out for the benefit of Renfield. And that is where I'll leave the story for there.
Perfect. I'll even talk first. I absolutely loved it. I got to go to a screening of it at USC Film School with a costume designer friend of both Sebastian's and I. I think you were supposed to go that night. I probably got your ticket.
I was at Disney.
You were at Disney. Yeah,
Without me?
I had business to do.
Oh.
Nikki and I had some activities to attend to.
So it was great. I got to see it on a big screen at USC Film School. They had a bunch of the cast and crew there talking, not Nicolas Cage. But I've never, I don't think, laughed and cringed so much in one movie. And I love that. It's like the blood, the guts, like a Kill Bill or one of those kind of things. Never more blood, and laughing. And the whole setup of being the 12-step type program with the I am enough. I am this. It could not be more timely. It could not be more funny. And everybody was brilliant. Nicolas Cage, who'd have think he would be such a friggin' brilliant vampire, but he is Dracula. I'm Dracula. It's beautiful. Absolutely. And there's stories about him on set, the passion he has for movies, which we've all heard anyway, the joy he has for movies, even after, 3, 4, 5 hours of makeup, what he brings into the thing, and that 200% commitment that he has, that they all had. It showed to me in every single pore of his body and every single scene and word out of the movie. Yes, Nicolas Cage and New Orleans definitely go hand in hand. Actually, the other day we went by the Madam whatever, that evil woman that Nick Cage bought her house and he didn't like it. It couldn't stay in it. Whoever that real evil woman who tortured slaves. We went by
Madame Lulari.
Yes, we went by Madame Lulari's house, which Nick Cage had bought, and he couldn't even spend the night in it. So yeah, it was his city. It was great. So personally, one of my favorite to date.
And I might add, we did get to go see where his eventual tombstone will be, which is right next to Father Sebastian's.
Yes.
What? Oh yeah, I'm going to be buried near Nick Cage.
Yeah. Yes, we have been to your grave. We have almost danced on your grave. It was pretty awesome.
Oh, there's
Not that
stories
any.
about my god sister Shannon McCabe dancing on her grave and getting in trouble with the local parish, and she was like, "It's my grave. I can dance on my grave." And so, but it was a hot day, Richard-Lael.
It
I-
was
How do you
incredibly
not
hot.
die?
Well, because I'm undead.
Oh,
He doesn't prescribe.
Actually, I'll tell you a funny story about being undead. So I had to get something that was delivered. I had to have some mover for something that it was my mantle. I had to have it brought in. And the fellow says to me, "Well, I think you might be a vampire." And I said, "Well, maybe I am." And he says, "Well, if you were, I might let you bite me."
Oh,
Was he gonna
Scandalous.
come online?
Mm.
Maybe?
He was someone here, someone local that I had paid him to help me bring a piece of furniture back over here, and he walked into my vampire lair. It looks like I don't know what. I mean, it's kind of a vampire lair. Speaking of vampire lairs, Father Sebastian, let's talk about your chair.
oh yes. So Rob Cohen, our gracious producer, told me that I needed to get a more practical set, unlike they did for Star Wars. And instead of CGI, I decided to get a quest for a chair, and there's no person better than Richard-Lael to go antiquing with. And I was like, I need a chair, and within 5 minutes, I had purchased the chair and was on my way in a tremendous thunderstorm to pick it up. Thank God it fit perfectly in the back of my car.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. It's a beautiful chair.
Mm-hmm.
It's very comfortable. I sit in it all day when I'm in LA, and it's perfectly colored, red and gold. I mean, couldn't ask for a better color combination. It's really hot in here right now, and my air conditioning doesn't seem to be working. But this chair makes my simple outfit right now look much better.
So okay, I don't know who wants to go next, but one thing that we do with witchy movies, Sebastian, is we talk about the good and the bad and the ugly, how witches are represented. You are like the expert of all experts on vampires your entire life. What do you think about how this particular movie or Dracula was represented? Good, bad, or vampires? Fun? I mean, we still love movies where they represent us bad, or we hate movies where they represent us good. Has nothing to do with that.
The Witch from the Sea. That's all I'll say.
Courtney's favorite film.
Would you like my honest opinion?
Yes.
It was a masterpiece. Nick Cage, in his sarcastic humor, just did a brilliant job. And there was people that didn't like it, didn't vibe with it, and each person to their own. But I'm going to tell you, I went to see it at the Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard because I was in Disney when Patti was going with my friend Laura, and I will tell you, I was laughing the entire movie, and it reminded me a little bit of a New Orleans version of Fight Club. Because people don't understand that Fight Club's a vampire movie.
That's a hot take.
Oh, it's completely it's a psychic vampire movie.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sounds like a new shirt.
Oh.
Yeah. Watch your quotes because it'll end up on Courtney's chest.
Yeah.
Right across.
Not today, but
I
maybe
think
tomorrow.
there's a couple things that I'd like to say. That there was a rumor going around that Nicolas Cage shaved his teeth down to be able to fit the prosthetics. In fact, no, they shaved the prosthetics down. One of my business associates, Gary Archer, is the Fang maker who made Fangs for Interview with the Vampire, Queen of the Damned. No, not Queen of the Damned. Interview with the Vampire TV show and movie. He made Fangs for Blade and also Austin Powers. And he in his grumpy elderly way went, I can't believe that they're spreading rumors about Nicolas Cage shaving his teeth down. And he talked to the dental tech that did the Fangs, because there's only 3 dental techs in Hollywood that make teeth. and there's one in England, one in LA, him, and one in somewhere in the South. So it was really, really interesting to hear the inside business perspective about it. And Nicolas Cage just killed it. I mean, I want his outfits. I mean, Richard-Lael, next request, I'm gonna find you and have you go shopping with me.
I mean, I agree. I that was the most powerful thing, most beautiful thing were his costumes. But Corey wants to talk about the Renfield effect, where people who are in a toxic relationship, and I think it's a very powerful point, because where I thought Nicolas Cage was brilliant and beautiful, really, really beautiful, excepting when he was just a pile of blood and bones, and he wasn't so beautiful then. But when he was himself, he was really beautiful, and I was actually intrigued by the fact that he was going to play Dracula, because I thought Nicolas Cage, and then I saw the photos that were leaked, and he looked a little bit like Marilyn Manson, and I thought, well, okay, maybe, but when I saw it, he was brilliant, and actually, it was very empowering, because when people are in toxic relationships, it happens gradually. You find yourself doing things that you really wouldn't do, just to keep the peace, just to be nice, just so that you don't have to hear the yells, so you don't have to fight. And that's what Renfield is doing. He's going out trying to find people for his master to eat. And then, of course, Dracula says, I want you to find me a school bus full of nuns. And I want you to find, what was it, some cheerleaders, and I can't remember the full thing.
A bus full of cheerleaders, and there was a table full of nuns. Yeah.
And then, of course, he goes to the nightclub here in New Orleans, and what happens to be coming in is a bunch of nuns, and then there's a school bus full of cheerleaders down the street, and whatever it was. But he ends up he eats this part of the trade-off is that he eats this insect. That's why he eats them, is because it gives him the life force, the power, and then he sort of becomes superhero. Now, humans, we don't normally eat bugs and get superhero. We normally eat bugs and gag. But that's neither here nor there. Whatever gives you your own power whenever you are in these toxic relationships, whatever small thing that sometimes, and it may be that the power that one would receive from eating a bug is in a toxic relationship. It's that one thing that they say, oh, you can't do that. You don't do that. And then you can eat the bug, and it would give you a sense of power. So in that sense, I say, go eat all your bugs that you want to eat.
So there's actual clips of me eating actual bugs on my Twitch channel. They did not give me superpowers. I was dared to do it. And I don't back down from a dare. So it was disgusting. I did gag, and I wish that I gotten superpowers.
What kind of bugs did you eat?
What did you eat?
I had dried crickets and dried mealworms, but then they upped the ante, and I ate live mealworms.
Oh,
I did one thing where I sprinkled the dried mealworms on a piece of pizza, and I ate the mealworm pizza. So that was great.
I thought you were gonna say I ate bugs at Disneyland or Disney World. That's what I was waiting for.
No,
just tossing them back.
No bugs at Disney. Like Hakuna Matata. I did say the Lion King sweet, so Hakuna Matata. Let me just, slimy but satisfying. No.
Oh my.
But I do want to comment on the whole, the toxic relationship bit. And again, as Richard-Lael said before, spoiler alert, because one of the things that I really loved about this movie, I thought the beginning was a little bit slow for me, but the halfway through on, when Renfield gets a spine and he's gonna go after, do his thing, it's the end for me where he's saying his mantras and punching Dracula, and it's like, I am enough, and I have enough, and I am codependent, and whatever he's saying, and he's punching him. And I was just like a couple scenes like that, or what was her name, Rebecca did a couple like awesome things, and I was just yelling like out loud, like, yes, get it, like, and so that got me really excited, which I haven't been really excited for one of our movies like that for a while. So I was hyped. I really enjoyed it. And then the humor in it is definitely my sense of humor, the dry, witty, sarcastic. Even like when Nick Cage was like gross Dracula, like coming back growing into his skin, he was still very like dry and sarcastic and funny. So I really enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it. I would definitely watch it again. And I have some quotes for later that
I'm gonna peek a little quote there before you do. One of my favorites was Renfield has gone to his meeting, and the team lead, there's someone at the door, and of course it's Dracula, and he says, "Do come in," and he goes, "No." How do vampires come on Witches Movie Coven? You invite them.
Yep. Yeah. The welcome mat. It was the welcome mat for me.
Yeah. You've been invited. Please come in. It's funny. Our beautiful Heather Greene is not here because she actually had a family commitment, but she also said this was too violent for her, which sort of cracks me up because she likes all these other goofy, violent movies that are kind of too much for me. But even though this was like ridiculously violent, because it was ridiculously violent, it went to cartoon stance that nobody has that many buckets of blood in one exploding head. It worked for me. So we love you. We miss you, Heather.
I'm going to be real honest. The violence, like I loved the violence, specifically the part where I don't remember the actor's name. He's John Ralphio in Parks and Rec, but Renfield punches him in the stomach, and then it shows the X-ray of all his bones breaking. Then it comes out his butt and out his mouth, and I was like, "Yes, this is so good." That was my favorite.
I'm kind of with Heather. Like tonally, this movie is all over the board. I like to read about the history of the development of these films, and this was originally supposed to be part of the MonsterVerse that was Dead on Arrival with Tom Cruise's The Mummy movie. So they reworked it, and I think as a result, it tries to be 2 or 3 different things. And because of that, it just doesn't resonate with some people. I liked it well enough. I like the performances. The cast is really great, and I laughed at some of the gratuitous, over-the-top violence. Don't get me wrong, but I think that probably limited the amount of people who are going to watch this film.
Yeah,
you really
and
thought
maybe
it was
that was. I thought the violence was funny, but I think that the amount of violence that's in the film is probably going to limit who watches this. It was not a financial success and did not do well at the box office because I don't think people could tell if it was 100% a comedy. Was it supposed to just be over the top campy, or was it supposed to be like a really violent sort of movie? And because all these things are in conflict with each other, I think it might have trouble keeping an audience long term.
I can totally see that. And I couldn't find the tone myself or the genre. Was it a horror movie? Was it a comedy? Was it a slapstick horror?
Yeah.
It entertained me tremendously just because I knew the tones. But, Lost Boys is also very violent.
And funny.
And funny.
I love Lost Boys.
Yes.
And I liked a lot of it. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think it was terrible and stuff, but my wife was sort of watching some of it with me and sort of rolled her eyes and didn't really want to participate.
Did you watch it in the movie theater?
We saw it on Peacock, sorry to say.
Probably different. It's probably a big screen movie, like all those ones that I'm always watching on my cell phone and don't get it. This is
what's fun?
A screen movie.
What's funny is I had that exact same conversation while I was watching it because I, as we've talked about before, always appreciate the cinematic adventure of a movie. And there are definitely movies that we've watched where I've said I might have appreciated it differently if I'd seen it on the big screen. This one, I feel like I would have enjoyed either way. I think that for me, the violence was just stupid enough and excessive enough and I'm not a fan of excessive gore for gore's sake, but this seemed to fit the trope for me, so I didn't mind it so much. But I'm a huge fan of the stupid, silly horror, so I don't know, for me it didn't miss the mark for me. But it's funny that you mentioned that because I had that exact same conversation where I feel like I don't think for me it would have made a difference to see it on the big screen or at home. And I would definitely watch it again at home.
The characters were so fun, where it could have been the cartoon or the horror. All the characters, like the whiny the son of the big mob boss lady, and the strength of the mob boss lady, and it had layers for a big, funny, comedic horror film, Dracula, to me.
It's funny too, because this is not the only vampire movie I've watched in the last week or so. I also saw the Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Oh yes,
Oh.
the other night with Laura.
So I thought, like, in comparison, I liked this one a lot more because this was more my style. The other one was a little bit slow, and then the end was really good for me. But like, two very, very different things. So I had a lot of fun watching this one, whereas the other one was more serious. So I think maybe having seen the other one in such close proximity too made me enjoy this just that much more.
So who hasn't talked at all yet? Richard-Lael?
I've already talked a little, but I'll talk again because I love to talk. I was going to say I really love. It's my new home, and when I saw it, I was in New York, and I don't think that I had even planned to come to New Orleans yet. But after moving here, I went, oh, that's St. Louis Church. Oh, that's where that is. Oh, so it was kind of interesting in hindsight to see. And then, of course, in the French Quarter, they were talking about it. They said, well, yeah, they were filming here, and a lot of people were really excited. A lot of people were in it. Well, I don't know any of them yet, but I thought it was kind of nice. It was kind of neat to see the setting, and what a perfect place to put vampires, because you've got Anne Rice, you've got Interview the Vampire, and then now Dracula. Of course, Dracula would come to New Orleans. Of course he would.
There was also a couple other movies that were set in New Orleans. The Originals was a TV show set in New Orleans, and then Dracula 2000 was set in New Orleans, and those were really shitty shows. But compared to Lost Boys, everything sucks.
I want to say what Mary Jane says. She loved Awkwafina. I loved her too. She was a really nice. Again, all these characters are like little paint colors to me. The different characters, the different how they molded together or didn't mold together.
I was really surprised when Awkwafina showed up because the cast is like really good. These are all actors that I know. I mean, Courtney already mentioned that Ben Schwartz is in it, who's John Rapio from Parks and Rec. He shows up completely different than his Parks and Rec character. That sort of blew my mind. And I thought Awkwafina was too big a star to be sort of third build in this movie. And I like Nicholas Hoult in pretty much everything that he does. So the cast is really good. But again, it's that weird thing too, where some of these people you're used to just seeing in really comedic roles, like Schwartz and Awkwafina, and then you sort of have this over-the-top kind of violence on top of it. And some really genuinely, I thought, kind of scary moments in the movie too.
You know what was the scariest moment for me, though? The scariest moment for me was when all of his friends get murdered by Dracula. And that's not scary. What was scariest for me is, why are they brought back? They were all ripped to shreds. How are they brought back? Were they all just put in a freezer? And then now they've drank Dracula blood. So are they all vampires? Because that's how you make a vampire, according to the lore. So are they all now undead vampires?
Program.
They saw things that they could not unsee and learned things that they could not unlearn. So maybe.
I just didn't think about it because I wanted a happy ending, and I felt so bad for all those people because you knew Dracula was showing up and what was going to happen. And I was like, and that was, I think I yelled no at the screen, which I tend to do only while watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. So, I wanted the happy ending.
I kind of didn't want the happy ending because I that was the one thing that really took me out of the film, because yes, gratuitous violence. Yes, there's a lot of things happen. People we love pass away. I lost my mother recently. People that we love die. That's just a fact. And I felt like that and they all lived happily ever after was very Disney, Courtney Buckley.
I liked it, so maybe.
I thought it was a beautiful ending, and what a better movie to have a beautiful ending than a horrible Dracula movie. It contradicted the entire film.
I think it needed that though, because it would have been so like just I would have felt desperate at the end and so unfulfilled watching it as a consumer. I would not have wanted to rewatch it. I would not have recommended people go see it. I would not have anything. So just from like a box office standpoint, I feel like they couldn't have done anything differently.
I bet you this film where hangs on well, like it'll get more popular as time goes. Maybe I don't know that. I guess it wasn't a box office big success, but I think it's one of those that actually is going to be appreciated down the line.
I agree.
It was beautiful. That is what I will say. Is that not only the costuming but acting was brilliant. The colors that they used, the lenses, the angles. It was really beautiful.
I think it's going to become a cult classic.
Yeah, for sure.
Is it?
I don't know, because I'm not sure that cult classic movies work like they used to, because now we control what we see, right? It used to be you just stumbled across something on cable at 11 p.m., right? Or late night or even later than that. And now you just sort of have to choose things on your 8 streaming services. I don't know if we'll get cult movies like we used to. I think that's going to be one of the downsides. Tonight on the Witches Movie Coven, we discussed technology and how it affects moviegoer habits.
I don't know. I think it's still the ones people choose to stream and choose to watch, even if you don't have to catch it at the 11 p.m. movie. Things are done different, but I think it's going to hold up.
I feel like it'll be something where like maybe people didn't go see it in the movie because, I'll wait for it to come to streaming. But then it came to streaming and now they're like, oh, well, I'll give it a shot. I'll watch it. And then it becomes the movie that they seek out to watch every once in a while.
Right.
I know a lot of people are introduced to it by watching it on streaming.
Yeah.
Right. Being on Peacock probably doesn't help a whole lot. You know, when it shows up on Netflix, maybe it'll find a second or a third life.
Right.
I love Peacock. Peacock has Parks and Rec and The Office. I love Peacock.
It's NBC. I think what we're losing with streaming is that we won't have the cult movies like the midnight showings of
like Rocky Horror Picture
Rocky
Show.
Horror. So I would go see this as a midnight screening of Renfield. I don't know. That's
The Room.
That would be fun.
You know, at the end of every endless night, we have the time warp.
Yes, we do.
And it's really funny to see the young kids get up there and see the kind of relate to the cult classic film. I'm 48 and that movie came out in 75. So I relate to it as anybody else, but to see like 21 and 25-year-olds getting up there dancing to that movie, you know, musicals have that thing that can touch you.
I love being touched.
Oh my God. Speaking of young people, I know a million movies that were made long before I was born. I know movies from the 40s and 30s and 20s. I did a show yesterday with they look 12, but they just turned 20-year-old. I watched the version they did before me, and they were talking about this guy named Ozzy Osbourne, who they had no idea who he was.
Oh.
They said, yeah, a kid, and they were talking about weird kids in school. And yeah, there was some kid, he was obsessed by some magician guy or something. I don't know who he is, named Ozzy Osbourne. And the kid ate a head off a bat. I'm like, how could you not know who Ozzy Osbourne? I don't get that, because I know lots of people who died before I was born, and Ozzy Osbourne's still alive, and he's still, I don't know.
That makes me feel old.
Are parents not raising their children properly on Black Sabbath? I mean, that's like a
what has
like
happened?
a must.
I was so nervous showing up with these children, but they actually did really good, because it's like, oh.
I'm raising my kid on Backstreet Boys. Does that count? NSYNC?
No, not at all.
Sorry. Well, then I'm part of the problem, obviously.
One of my friends is raising their kids on the TV show In Living Color.
That's a good parenting right there.
Yeah. And not very witchy, but definitely funny. I mean, that show would get canceled today.
Okay, Matthew says he's 25 and he knows Ozzy. Okay, thank you, Matthew. Education in America. That is that really threw me. I was so nervous showing up at their studio going, what are we going to talk about if they don't know who Ozzy Osbourne is?
Well, and that goes to a point too. I wonder how many people realized that there was a 1932 film with Bela Lugosi. I wonder if they knew, or if they just thought, oh, Halloween and vampires, and they kind of, I don't think, have they ever seen that version? They probably have not. Have they ever seen even the Bram Stoker's Dracula Coppola version? Probably not.
Yeah.
So they know the Halloween version of Dracula because they just know the Halloween version of Dracula.
But
Yeah,
see,
I would.
weird. In the day of streaming, you can watch whatever you want when you want. Do they just don't know about it? Do they
I think it's just because they have too many choices. The problem is, if you go to a restaurant, and this is, I don't like to go to restaurants because I have a lot of allergies, but when you go to a restaurant and you sit down, and instead of having 5 things, this is what you have for lunch, this is the options that you have, this is what we have for dessert. But if you go there and there's 1,000 things, it's so much that it's hard for you to focus on one. Which one do I want? Because they're all, I don't know. You get overwhelmed. It's information overload.
Yeah, that's literally me every night trying to decide what to put on to go to sleep. So
That's me trying to, on the rare occasion I actually get to watch television, how to watch television, what channel to watch, and how I can even find the show, because I don't, I'm really bad. So
I think that people know the image of Bela Lugosi as Dracula, but I'm with Richard-Lael. I don't think that most people have ever really watched the movie. I don't think it's something that comes up when you look through streaming services or whatever. It used to be maybe on Turner Classic Movies, if you had cable during Halloween, you might stumble across Dracula. And the movie itself has issues. The Spanish version is actually better.
The Spanish version is way better.
Yeah.
in Spanish?
Yes. So I didn't mean to jump in, but that excites me. Go on, Jason Mankey, you tell.
Oh, so at night, after they were done filming the Bela Lugosi version, the Spanish crew would come in and they would film the Spanish version of Dracula. They used the same set, but it was all in Spanish, so they could release it in Spanish-speaking territories. And the directing is so much better. Dracula, the movie with Bela Lugosi, looks like a stage play. And Dracula, the Spanish movie, it looks like a movie. There's more close-ups of faces and things, and it's just better done. It's fantastic. So if you like the original, go and watch it.
When I was dealing with my mentor, my vampire mentor, Victor Magnus, he's like, you don't like Lost Boys. Lost Boys sucks. You got to watch 1932 Dracula in Spanish. And I was like, okay, can I get subtitles? And he was like, sure. And we watched it together, and it was nuts.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we have a question in the thing. Who was it? Tabitha wants to know, who is your favorite vampire of all time? Anybody want to jump in?
I'm embarrassed. I don't want to say mine.
Oh, now you have to start.
I like Twilight.
No!
Oh.
Yes, I would be embarrassed
Listen,
too.
Everyone give me a second. I know it's terrible. I understand that, and that's why I like it. I like movies that are so bad that they're uncomfortable to watch sometimes. And Twilight has become one of my comfort movies because it's just so goofy and ridiculous, and I love it. So sorry, not sorry. I like Twilight. But I also like what's that movie with Josh Hartnett was in it a while ago, 30 Days of Night, I think, where they were living in Alaska and then it goes dark and all the vampires come out. I really love that movie. So I have
movies on the Fangs.
What?
I base the quality of a vampire movie on their fangs.
I like that.
So who is your favorite vampire then?
Lestat de Lioncourt. The vampire Lestat. Not the Tom Cruise version, not the Queen of the Damned version, but the Sam Reed finally did Lestat properly in the TV show Interview with the Vampire. Now, Louis is just a supporting character, so I don't care what they do with him. But they did Lestat. And I grew up, I was in a poly relationship where I had a little blonde and a doubting Louis. And we would always go, Louis, Louis, Louis. And that was, Lestat is absolutely my rock star, my heart, my treasure, my love, my friend, my inspiration.
Oh, very good. And Jason?
I'm going to be boring and say it's Dracula, but I like Dracula just because of all the different versions of Dracula over the years. And that it's this great literary creation that sort of kicked off the modern vampire movement in a lot of ways. And the story is continually reinterpreted over and over again, which I really appreciate. So for me, it's Dracula. And I used to read Tomb of Dracula comic books when I was a small child. So there's all these connections to Dracula.
Which is your favorite Dracula?
Ooh, maybe Gary Oldman.
Yes, he's good.
Is good. All right, Richard-Lael.
My favorite vampire is an alleged vampire, the Comte de Saint-Germain. He is my favorite vampire to this date, and he was a courtesan. Nobody knew where he was from. He didn't eat publicly. He would always. It was rumored that he would dine on chicken or virgins in his chamber, and people who knew him when they were children at court knew him when he was an older man, and he never aged. Now he disappeared and reappeared in the 19th century, and then someone said that he had returned in the 70s. I don't think that was the same person, however.
Or he was.
Maybe it was.
Thank you, Lisa. Their favorite vampire's father, Sebastian.
Oh.
I think he's mine too. I must say though, my favorite is Nicolas Cage in Dracula. I have a Nicolas Cage thing. Sorry, I have forever. So now Nick playing Dracula, I'm staying there. But my first vampire, I was little and I ran home from school, was Barnabas Collins.
Ooh.
I ran home from school for Dark Shadows. I don't know. I was little and that was the only soap I ever watched. I had to run home to watch Dark Shadows. So he was my
love Dark Shadows.
Yeah. So
what's everyone's favorite Nicolas Cage movie? I think that's another good question.
Okay, go Courtney.
Okay, I forget the name of it, but it's the new one that just came out with Pedro Pascal.
Oh, yes.
Where Nicolas Cage plays himself. I laughed in the theater, and it was not even just the jokes. It was the subtlety of like the faces they were making at each other. Like it was everything. If you have not seen it, go watch it tonight. It's so funny. It's so, I don't know. I loved every minute of it.
What is it?
Let me look it up. Hold on. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I don't know that one. He plays himself.
Yeah, he plays himself, and Pedro Pascal is like his super fan and wants him to come to his birthday party. So he hires him. Like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is the name of it. Yeah. And so Pedro Pascal is like a super fan. He's like, I forget if he's like or his family's in the drug trade or something, and he has like a shrine to Nick Cage, so he's bought all of the things that like Nick Cage has used in his movies or whatever, and Nick Cage is trying to audition for things and can't get it, and so his agent is like, well, this person offered you $1 million to go to a birthday party, so he's like, yeah, whatever, I'll take it. And then it's like a buddy comedy, so they become like best friends. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Hilarious. And then the way that they just look at each other, so there's the it's like viral on TikTok, the scene where they're looking at each other in the car, and it's like, oh, me when I do this, and then my best friend when I do this, or like whatever, and they're looking at each other. It's hilarious. And it literally is. It's not even like, the lines are great, the scenery is great, the acting is great. I don't super love Nick Cage, so when I went to see it, I thought, I know, I'm sorry, Patty. I do now because of this movie, because I feel like for him to play himself the way that he did, and it was really just the way that he took it in stride. Like, he fully made fun of himself. The whole movie is like him making fun of himself, and he just like overacts himself. It's just the funniest thing. It's so good. If you haven't seen it, see it. It's really funny.
Okay, everybody is putting in their movies here. We've got National Treasure. We've got a Ghost Rider, Queen. Oh, somebody likes Akasha and Queen of the Dam. So no, you guys, we are reading this Blade series. I must say, one of my friends was the makeup artist on Blade series, and I remember seeing they had a baggie full of Wesley Snipes hair. I was so impressed at the time. This was a long time ago. I guess that's what makeup artists do. But the guy who wrote that, Stephen Norrington, actually wrote a movie about me. That's where my whole the Bursting in Fire Marilyn Manson house. He wrote the Blade series. He wrote League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and he wrote a movie about me. But they haven't done it. They probably never will. But that was my little momentary claim to fame. But I do want everybody to introduce ourselves. So before we do that, we have to vote. Wands up, wands down. Everybody out there in the chat room, you guys are really active. Tell us, wands up, wands down. Renfield. Oh, look at you, Richard-Lael. You've got a cross.
It's a crucifix.
It's a crucifix.
I feel bad. I took up so much time talking. Nobody else got to say their favorite Richard-Lael movie, their favorite Nicolas Cage movie.
Favorite movies? I'm sticking with this one because it's the newest. And I have no memory.
Doing the show in my bedroom, I have the TV remote for a long time. I left my wand in the other room. So yeah,
that's a perfect one. This may be one of our few. We don't often agree on everything. In the audience, I see up, 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 up. We've got a lot of wands up. Wands definitely up. So someone who practices voodoo would have a field day with a bag of someone's hair. I thought about that at the time too, being a practicing witch way back then. I thought about that too, Wesley Snipes' hair, what you could do. But I think the person who had it was just into his kind of bleached thing they did with his hair. Okay, so we are looking at wands up. So those of you who haven't seen it, you can see it on Peacock and all sorts of things. So check out Renfield and tell us what you think. We don't know what we're going to do next week, do we?
So next week is my birthday week. Do I get to pick?
Yes,
I know what I want to do.
What do you want to do?
So I know it's silly and it's stupid, but it's one of my favorite movies, and there is witchcraft in it. It is Your Highness, which is a stoner comedy with James Franco and Danny McBride. And it's my favorite movie.
Oh God, that movie's terrible.
No, it's not! Jason! Go away! I'm gonna make your laptop run out of battery.
I don't know it. Is it streamable or is it available somewhere?
It should be. If not, I'll send you a DVD because
send everybody a DVD. Okay,
yeah,
so we'll do that one next week, so long as we can all find it. Until then, everybody say what they have coming up. I'm leaving tonight actually for Michigan Paracon. So anybody going to Michigan, it's a really good one. Everybody comes, all the paranormal peeps, Michigan Paracon. Next month, I'm going to be at Baraboo, Wisconsin. I'm going to be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, all sorts of places. Go to pattinegri.com and find out where I am. Let's go to Courtney next. What do you have coming up?
Not a lot. Sadly, I'm not going to Michigan Paracon this year because my son's starting a new school and I'm starting a new job. So I have a lot of stuff to take care of. But in a little while, I will be streaming on Twitch in about 30 minutes. We got a new update, which totally revamped our favorite ghost hunting game. So we're going to go get the pants scared off of us, and you can watch along at twitch.tv/thethemes. Other than that, just sleeping forever, decompressing off of my trip. Also, I am a big fan of NSYNC. Like I said earlier tonight, Joey Fatone was performing at Epcot while we were there, and Lance Bass made a special appearance. And I've waited 23 years for this to happen. We were front row, and Lance Bass touched my hand. So I immediately wiped snots on it from all the sobbing that I was doing after it happened, but it happened. So.
Oh no, he got Joey Fatone.
All right, Richard-Lael.
I will be in Atlanta coming up in a week on the 2nd of September for the Debauchery Burlesque Ball Atlanta. We had to change the name, but it is Debauchery Burlesque Ball Atlanta coming up on the 2nd, where it'll be a lot of fun. And then I'll be in Ohio for a few days in October. And then I will be here. And you can find me wherever good Gentleman Psychics are sold, thegentlemanpsychic.com, and also, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of the other stuff. All keys of social.
Yes. Everybody follow us, like us, tell us what you want to see. Jason.
I will be outside of Memphis at the Festival of Souls Festival, October 12th through the 15th, which is pretty exciting. And I will be at Las Vegas Pagan Pride. This is a Sin City Witches shirt because those are the Las Vegas witches on November 11th. So I'm excited about that. And of course, I'm on social media and all the places. There are only 4 Jason Mankeys in the world. I'm the only one who's a witch. And of course, I'm on Amazon because I've only written 9 books, Patty. Only 9 books.
Good one, so they count for double. Thank you. I just got your new one. So, all right, so let's go to our special guest, my dearest friend, Father Sebastian. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit who you are, what you do, and where they can see you next, and what you have going on?
Well, I'm a fang smith, which means I make custom-made fangs. I'm a dental technician. Patty's my most recent victim again. And I run the Endless Night Vampire Ball, and we'll be in Salem on October 9th with Fangs, Ben and Lex and Ben.
September 9th.
And we're going to be doing the Endless Night Vampire Ball Salem. And then we are going to do Halloween weekend. The weekend before Halloween, I'll be in Homa at my friend Marva's house, going to the Rougarou Werewolf Festival, Swamp Wolves. And then I'm going to go to Halloween weekend. I'll be at the House of Blues with Patti and Richard-Lael and a bunch of witches doing Endless Night New Orleans Vampire Ball.
Thank you. And they can find you where?
FatherSebastian.com.
Thank you so much. Do you guys hear this weird music in the background? Is that just
it's got a funky beat, but I like it.
Beat, but I like it. I don't know what
like steel drums somewhere in the background.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So
I don't know where it's
before.
Maybe it's Dracula coming to get us, or Nicolas Cage coming to get us.
Okay,
it could be.
Come on down.
I wish it was Gary Oldman coming to get me.
Really,
okay,
really good.
Pam can hear it too, so everybody can hear it. Hi, Pam. Hi, everybody. All right. So, yes, come see us everywhere. Like us, follow us on social media, on our YouTube page, our Witches Movie Coven page, on Facebook. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us your opinions on everything. And make sure you go to mysterycontrol.com. Yeah, because mysterycontrol.com, you could have all those cool shirts with our quotes on it. You could have Witches Movie Coven shirts. You could have my Patti spellcasting line. You could have Patti's power panties because change your underwear, change your life. You could have a Richard-Lael pillow. You can have, that could look her new. Those are dragon panties. Beautiful. She's great.
My Richard-Lael pillow.
And there's also, we're working on teacups too. So some of my art will have some of my art will have teacups.
Yeah, that pillow would look nice on your chair, Sebastian.
You're putting me in a weird position.
Mysterycontrol.com for all your Richard-Lael needs.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. You will find us all there on mysterycontrol.com. And because who doesn't need t-shirts, underwears, and pillows to put upon your body?
Oh, now look, Richard-Lael.
Our panties are on Richard-Lael.
Well, I will tell you that those pants that I was wearing were so tight you could see my religion. So maybe it's a good thing that I'm wearing the power panties.
Cover that up.
Oh my God. All right. Well, we are there to the end of the day, but there is one more thing that we always have to do, whether you have your goat with you or not, because what do witches do? We cackle.
We cackle.
1, 2, 3. Here we go.